Oh shit, boys. How fucking hype are we? Oh my fucking god. How hype are we for tomorrow, boys? New York is tomorrow. It's a pretty big day. Pretty big day on the Democratic side. I don't know about. I think Trump has pretty easily won New York. If you look at the polls, he had like a 20-point lead, I think. I don't see that. Oh, never mind. A 30-point lead. There's no way that this is reversing anytime soon. Kasich is leading Cruz. That's pretty crazy. Kasich has gotten a lot more popular, but not really. Kasich is hoping to steal something at the convention, but he has no chance. Even at the convention, there's zero chance that he would ever be nominated. You just can't pick. You just can't give a nomination to somebody that's come into the game this late. That's just stupid. I think that Paul Ryan probably has a higher chance than Kasich, and Paul Ryan doesn't even have a chance. So it's just stupid. It's actually really stupid too because there are a lot of Republicans that want anybody but Trump, and Kasich is taking voters away from Cruz by being here too. Because I think a supporter of Kasich would be more likely to support Cruz or Trump. I don't actually know that. I would say a supporter of Kasich at this point is probably leaning towards Republican establishment, meaning those votes would more likely go to Cruz than Trump. So Kasich is kind of just screwing the RNC and Cruz at this point. Paul Ryan has publicly said he will not accept the nomination recently. Yeah, he said it a lot. I don't know why people keep pushing for him. Why would you want to know? Speaker of the House is more power than the Vice President anyway. I don't know why you... But it's so weird that on like these betting websites, like Paul Ryan is coming up ahead of Kasich. I don't know why. Who will be the 2016 Republican nominee? Click. Oh, he's dropped significantly. But still, he's still up there. I don't know why. The thing is, if the convention is brokered, the establishment would rather take him than Cruz, but it won't happen. The convention, realistically, if it even gets to a brokered convention, which I'm still not sure at this point, I haven't checked the numbers if it will, but if it does, there are only two possible people that can walk away with the nomination. It's either Cruz or Trump. If they go to reshuffle the votes and every single Rubio delegate or whatever, and every single person goes to Trump, they might be able to finagle goes to Cruz. They might be able to finagle a Cruz nomination, maybe, but even at that, it's very, very, very unlikely. But they can't give it to somebody like Kasich or Ryan because it would be disrespecting the primary process too much, and it would fracture the Republican Party too hard.
Book brothers. Who here ready for Wyman Manderly in S6? DANKMEMES the North fucking remembers you, boy.
That's why it's really strange to see somebody like Kasich. To see somebody like I feel like it's like a really big slime ball thing. Like I feel like at this point you're abusing presidential politics to further your own political career. Because Kasich right now, and he probably knows that he has a less than 0% chance of ever getting the nomination, but he's only staying in to further his own political career. Maybe it'll make it easier for him to raise money for his next, what is he, a senator? What is Kasich from? I don't even know what he is. I think he's a senator. I don't think he's a senator. He's a governor, isn't he? Kasich. What is this guy? Oh, House of Representatives. No, 9 terms representing Ohio. What is... He's a governor of... Yeah, he is. Okay, governor of Ohio. Yeah, he's only staying in this race to further himself. Because even at the convention, the establishment candidate at this point is Cruz, and then Trump is the one that's trying to win. There's just no possible way that they give it to Kasich. He didn't have enough... He's got nowhere near enough delegates. That's the biggest fuck you could give to the entire party of both Trump and Cruz supporters to give the nomination to Kasich. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy that he's still in. It's such a slimeball move in my opinion, but... Destiny. So what? I don't see any harm in Kasich staying in the race. Well, the problem is, let's say that you are a Republican who really doesn't like a lot of the things that Trump stands for, which there are a lot of Republicans that feel that way. Let's say that you want to see anybody but Trump win the nomination to carry on what you believe represents the Republican Party. That means that at this point, your candidate is Ted Cruz. It's who you would be for, right? Because he's the only other person in the race, obviously, right? Well, Kasich, Kasich staying in is just depriving Cruz of delegates, meaning that Cruz has a tougher time walking into the convention with, 2/3 of the delegates that he should have, because Kasich has siphoned off a lot of those votes. It's kind of like when somebody runs third party. Do you remember when was it John Kerry that lost the election to Bush because the Green Party dude ran and they siphoned votes off of the Democrat side? It's kind of like that. Well, all you're doing is screwing the people that you supposedly agree with by staying in, and that's all Kasich is doing. Kasich isn't hurting fucking Trump at this point, because if you look at Kasich and Trump, those two are about as opposite as you can possibly be. So Trump isn't losing any delegates to Kasich, but Cruz, on the other hand, is probably losing. I would say 70 to 80% of the people that support Kasich would probably vote for Cruz if Kasich were to drop out. Kasich? John Kasich. I think it might be Kasich. I don't know how to pronounce his fucking names. I believe after the first round of voting in the convention, if there still isn't anyone with enough delegates, then all delegates are free to vote for whoever they want. I think it might be something like that, yeah, but... Kasich is staying in to prove his base and get the VP nomination. Yeah, which is, again, kind of a scumbag move. I don't know. It just seems... It just seems kind of stupid. Did Rubio end up killing himself? Does anybody know what happened with him? I can't believe he stayed in. Rubio?
He's hanging on to the delegates he has.
Oh, he might be yeah, of course.
He's thinking they'll appoint him.
No, he's holding on because there's going to be a lot of stupid shit going on at the Republican National Convention. That's why he's holding on. He doesn't want to release him yet because that Republican convention is going to be fucking crazy. But Rubio should not have stayed in. I said this like 2 weeks leading up. I said this for months leading up to it. Rubio should not have stayed in to lose Florida that badly. That was so horrible.
Hey, Density, today's my birthday and not a lot of people remembered. You guys would make my day if you gave me a decent combo. Even if not, I'll still love you. Like how you love your fellow inmates in an asylum for the criminally insane artists.
You count on for you later. Trump said that Rubio is a possible VP. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Trump would never, ever, ever, ever say. Trump would never, ever let somebody. I think the exact interview. I think I saw what you're talking about. And somebody asked Trump if Rubio was a possible VP candidate, and Trump said something like, "I'm not going to say no, or I'm not going to rule anybody out." Trump didn't want to give a committal answer or rule anybody off completely. So I don't think that. I get your point. I personally don't care since both Trump and Cruz are awful. I guess if it were Kasich, I'd consider doing the same. Why would Kasich voters go for Cruz? Isn't Cruz fairly extremist? Trump makes crazy statements, but he is definitely closer to the center at certain. So right now in the Republican Party, the great schism you have is the new blood and the Republican establishment people. The large majority of those people have been, currently are, and will remain loyal to Trump. Okay, the new Republican blood, probably younger Republicans, people that are hardcore anti-establishment Republicans, people that don't like the Republican Party, well, people that don't like the George Bushes or whatever, and there's one more group in there, but I forgot. But those two are the two big ones. And then on the other end of things, all of the people that were for a somewhat traditional Republican candidate, people that were fans of Jeb Bush, people that were fans of Marco Rubio, these are people who, once those candidates have dropped off, in choosing between the extremist that is Trump, end up siding with Cruz, who has become more or less, even against some people's will, has become the establishment candidate. If you want the Republican Party to remain relatively on the same course it has been, then Cruz is the person that you vote for. And Trump represents a significant departure from that ideology. So I think that, and then Kasich again is kind of still in line with traditional Republican conservative values.
And you have a lot of Democrats that have crossed over. They want nothing to do with that party anymore because of everything Obama's done.
If you're a Democrat, you're not switching parties because of Obama. For the most part, Obama's candidacy,
That's what you think.
that's what I know for a fact.
Okay, well, that's not what I've heard from people.
then you've been listening to Republicans or crazy Democrats. Obama has been one of the more successful Democratic presidents as of recently, and his legacy for the most part is going to be overwhelmingly positive. Between the deal with Iran is going to be looked at as historic in U.S. International politics, and between we will for longer than if Bush would have continued his policies, and the Affordable Care Act and starting the U.S. towards getting some kind of acceptable healthcare set up for the country is going to be seen as a historic thing in the United States. I think those two things are going to be the biggest hallmarks of Obama's legacy.
Comments from Democrats, diehard, don't talk to me, I'll never speak to you again, Democrats.
What would Obama do that a diehard Democrat wouldn't like?
Well, my cousin, who I think disowned me for a few years, said don't vote for Obama. He's voting for Trump. Okay, so I'm just saying, and I've heard a lot of Democrats.
It's possible, yeah, but what you're talking about there isn't people that are leaving the Democrat Party because they hate Obama so much. It's because Trump is a very central. No. It's because Trump is a very central. Trump is more to the left. You know how you guys all made fun of you guys all made fun of McCain for not being hardcore conservative enough? Trump is even more to the left of him. Trump is in favor of organizations like Planned Parenthood that most Republicans would crucify you for ever being in favor of.
But that's because they're not informed, okay?
Who's not informed? Trump's not informed?
No, because a lot of people aren't informed that Planned Parenthood does anything besides abortion.
Do you know why people aren't informed of that? It's because the news sites that you watch put out videos talking about how Planned Parenthood captures and sells baby parts all the time.
Was the bad part. They don't talk about the good
Okay,
parts.
all right. I'm just saying that Trump is, for the most part, Trump falls to the left. Trump isn't in favor of any crazy, stupid flat tax stuff that Cruz is pushing or any other, or Huckabee wanted to push.
But
For foreign policy, Trump is willing to, for
Obama policy.
he says that, but he's not actually. Trump is Trump is way closer to Obama's policy than any other Republican. He is. Trump has said things that makes it sound like Trump is in favor of a single-payer healthcare system, which is more extreme than Hillary Clinton at this point in terms of healthcare. Trump's foreign policy is also, even though he said some crazy things, Trump's foreign policy is also very far out of whack with like Cruz, where Trump wants to align himself with people like Putin. He respects Putin's power, and he wants to do things to work with him to secure peace in the Middle East.
If he wants to go bomb our enemy, why, leave him.
That's not all he said. Trump has great for videos that I've seen. Trump has said good things about Putin that if any other Republican would have ever said it, they would have been crucified for it. Trump is all I'm saying is that when you see Democrats that have moved over because they're in favor of Trump, that's not because they hate Obama. That's because Trump is somebody that's very easily presentable to somebody who's a Democrat, because a lot of his policies, especially socially, he's very, very left-leaning. He doesn't have the anti-gay, anti-marijuana, all these other things that these very traditional hardball conservative, anti-Planned Parenthood, anti-abortion.
But he's very pro-human rights.
Who?
Trump.
Everybody's pro-human rights. What do you mean?
Well, you can...
Who do you think is not pro-human rights? Do you think Obama is not pro-human rights?
No, I'm not talking about Obama.
Okay, what are you talking about?
When you talk about maybe people like Cruz, who, it's God and this way and that's it. Trump doesn't completely fall in there. It's like he's got common sense to boot.
Sure, so he's more like a Democrat than a Republican in that sense.
A Democrat, no.
No, I mean,
I don't disagree that he was a Democrat. And
sure.
As far as his business practices, I think they were smart. It had nothing to do with him being in politics, because he wasn't until just now.
Well, he's always been in bed with politicians. Trump has, for the most part.
Who hasn't been?
I know, I'm just saying. I know. Just don't pretend that like it's just now that he's just gotten interested in politics. He's been...
No, I mean as far as running for...
Oh, yeah, sure.
He's always done the businessman thing.
Sure.
Which everybody does on their level.
Yeah, sure. I'm just bringing up that Trump falls to the left because I don't think that there's going to be a mass exodus from the Democrat Party because of Obama.
Not mass, but yes, to some degree.
Can you give me any examples of some Obama policy or something that Obama's done that you think...
I don't know anybody except you that thinks Obamacare is good. And I know a lot of Democrats.
Do you know anybody that had type 1 diabetes or any kind of pre-existing condition, or somebody that had a serious medical issue, and when they went to their insurance to file a claim for it, the insurance dropped them because their coverage was garbage beforehand?
I know that one of the people...
Okay, so then you don't know anybody that really...
I know one of the people Dad did taxes for had a hard time getting the Obamacare.
Okay.
They finally, after, were able to do it. Then they got dropped because they didn't want the risk, right? And they got other, and in the end, even though they were covered all 12 months, they wound up having to pay like $1,200.
I would have to see the taxes. Dad did them. I don't trust it. I would have to see the.
That's fine.
If you had healthcare coverage for all
They're
12
not the
months,
only ones.
I would have to see the taxes.
They
If you
wouldn't
had
pay
coverage,
Then there are some people they're telling you didn't pay enough.
I would have to see the taxes. I would have to see
You
it.
could ask Dad. I mean,
And send him a copy. Yeah, sure. You can send me a copy. I don't believe it because if you had I just said my text. If you had healthcare coverage, then you shouldn't have to pay a fee.
Yes, that's what we thought.
Oh,
So
did
Dad
you
did these people.
did you have to pay a fee?
I doubt it.
Did they have some really weird setup where maybe he didn't have health coverage for the wife or didn't have health coverage for a child? So you think they had health coverage for all 12 months and they still had to pay the penalty?
It was. I don't know if it was a penalty or that they decided they hadn't paid enough.
Or maybe they didn't have actual health coverage? Maybe they just had like dental or...
No, they had.
Okay.
As far as specifics, you'd have to ask Dad.
Okay.
I remember him asking because I was curious because I'd heard other people in other places say.
One of the big problems about switching to...
Truly, this is the dankest dungeon.
Me Bonal BTFO Duckers.
One of the biggest problems about switching from the previous health insurance plans to the ACA is that the Affordable Care Act changed a couple of really important things that a lot of people just have no idea, so they view it as something worse. Is one,
Truly,
hold on.
this is the
It used to be
dankest dungeon.
that pre-existing conditions meant that
Destiny
you were totally screwed
IP
if you
bans
already had
mom,
insurance,
bans himself,
If you didn't have
Swepstini.
insurance, that was horrible. You were completely screwed. You understand that, right?
And I would agree that that part is.
That needed to change.
Yes.
There were also a lot of people that had health care who, now that the Affordable Care Act has rolled around and now it's more expensive or it's harder to get, but the health care that they had prior to the Affordable Care Act going through was garbage. And they didn't realize it. When I'm talking about healthcare that has $20,000 deductibles, or healthcare where as soon as you would go, and this happened to a lot of people,
I'm hearing that's the case now.
everything should be a lot more clear now. When you go to the healthcare exchange, you should be able to see exactly what you're getting to. There are high deductible plans out there, but you shouldn't be running into these issues. It might still happen, but you shouldn't be running into these issues where prior to the ACA, you could have health insurance and then something catastrophic happens and then you file a claim and then they say they're not going to cover it and they drop you. These were happening to people. You can look up percentage of people, percentage of people with health insurance that still filed bankruptcy due to medical related things. Like, this still happened, where even though people would have health insurance, they would still have to file bankruptcy.
Part of it could have been because of the cost of the medical care, and part of it could have been because of the loss of the income of the person.
Yeah, maybe. But the point was, the United States healthcare system has been broken for a long time. And Obama was the first president, or under Obama, because he didn't do it alone, he needed bipartisan support in Congress, was the first time where we passed something to start to move us in a direction that finally tries to address and fix some of the problems with the United States healthcare. Which is why, in the future, even if it's not perfect now, nothing is perfect at the start, I think that it'll be viewed as a historic thing when the United States finally started moving towards more acceptable health coverage, because what we have right now is substandard in the first world in every single possible conceivable way.
If you think so.
I know so.
See, I've heard people say that what they have is substandard in other countries, whether it's Canada or, let me see, who have I seen make a comment from? I heard someone speak from Canada. I don't remember specifically what other countries where they have.
I mean, if you go and you look at the stats, I mean, if you go and look at things like infant mortality, if you go and look at overall longevity, if you go and look, like, there's no ranking that puts the United States in a good spot. So, I mean, you might have like a friend or two that say that it's bad in Canada, or it's the UK's health system is bad or whatever, but overwhelmingly they rank higher than the United States in pretty much every single metric. Unless you're super rich. If you're super rich, then you can do whatever you want in the United States. The United States is the best place to live if you've got a ton of money. But for everybody else, which is the majority of people, it's not. There's a lot of problems.
Well, Yeah, but there were a lot of people that had health coverage through their companies.
Okay.
And not all, you know.
There might have been a lot of people. There are a lot of uninsured people too.
Right. Those are the people we needed to address. That was
Sure,
the problem.
but you have to look at the problem holistically. You couldn't just address one small subset of people.
Wow.
If you were an at-risk person and you had a pre-existing condition and the insurance company didn't want to cover you because of that, then that's priced into everything that they currently have. If the government tells those insurance companies, you have to start covering these people with pre-existing conditions, well, assuming that the insurance companies have priced their stuff competitively thus far, they wouldn't be able to take on those costs. So then they would have to go to the government. That's part of the reasons why everyone has to have health insurance, because the health insurance company said to the government, we can't take on these people unless you need to force every single person to have insurance. Because we need to pool this risk against the entire population if we're going to have to take on all these high risk people. So, I mean, for some people, I'm sure that the cost of health insurance did rise a little bit, but I mean, we live in a society that's kind of part of what we do. Is pay for that stuff. We don't grow our own food. We get it from trucks, and other people grow it for us, and we don't make our own clothes. Other people craft it for us, and
For the most part.
we don't teach our own children. We send them to school
For the most part.
for the most part. I saw somebody mention something in chat that actually could have been what my mom was talking about. I think that depending on your income, I think you have to pay a certain premium, and that if you get super, super ultra cheap insurance, you might still get billed at the end by the government. I think that might have been a thing. Like, for instance, if you make $10 million a year and then you go and you get an insurance plan that only costs you $40 a month, you might still get billed by the government at the end for having a really cheap plan. That might be a thing. I don't remember. I would have to go and look at the exact. I don't remember the exact things, what the premium you have to pay is. But I think that for a lot of people, if you're poor, you're supposed to get, you have to have a qualifying plan based on your income. Oh, so what you could do is you could buy health insurance based on your income, and if your income is significantly greater when you go to file your taxes next year, then you might owe a fee based on the difference, right? If you made $100,000 this year, got a qualifying plan, and then when you filed your taxes for 2016, and then you made $200,000, that plan wouldn't be a qualifying plan anymore under the ACA, right? I'm waiting to, I'm taking my mom to the airport in a few minutes to send her back to Miami, and then we'll come back and play the Dark Souls. So we're not really doing much right now. What were we doing? Oh, Trump is going to win New York. New York Democratic. Hillary still had like a 15-point lead over Bernie, I think. Didn't she? 12 points now? Can you do it? It's always been pretty similar. That's quite the hurdle. A 10-point win in New York for Hillary almost kills Bernie completely. Do you think Hillary would pick Bernie as a VP? I doubt it. It would be pretty smart. Honestly, oh man, Hillary picking somebody like Elizabeth Warren would be really good too. Somebody to try to hold on to the progressive anti-establishment base. I feel like but I feel like that's not going to happen. I feel like what Hillary is going to do is Hillary is going to pick somebody who's going to be like a really standard establishment left-leaning Democrat. I feel like Hillary's going to pick somebody like that, and then it's going to be like all over, and then I feel like she's fucked in the general. Do you think Bernie would go in with her? He was pretty strong on it being the president or nothing. Well, you have to be strong on being president or nothing. Period. You can't say like, oh yeah, I would be Hillary's VP pick, because then it makes people that are voting for you think, okay, well I can just vote for Hillary safely and I'll still get Bernie as the vice presidential pick. You can't go into it saying like, yeah, I'm okay with second place, because then people are more comfortable with you being in second place. Destiny, what exactly is wrong with this? Oh shit, I remember this. Fucking my mom fucking linked this on her Facebook. God damn it. Bernie Sanders finally releases his tax returns. What he paid is unbelievable. Bernie Sanders doesn't go one day without denouncing the rich for using every deduction write-off and loophole they get. But like most democratic socialists, turns out Bernie is nothing but a hypocrite, as we see in the tax returns he finally released this weekend. That puts Mr. and Mrs. Sanders in the top 4% of earners of the US, yet he paid less than half the taxes most people in his bracket pay. Because they took out the actual tax he paid and they pretended that like everybody in the brackets normally pays. Oh my god, the autisms. Confused how he and his wife have enough deductions to get them from 28% tax bracket for their salaries and investments down to 13.5%. Hello, I've never done my taxes before. Can somebody explain how this works? Nice, ma'am.